Welcome, folks, to Circa Capital's presentation, Strong Start, Strong Finish, the College Graduate's Guide to Saving and Investing for a Lifetime. My name is Travis Raish, and I'll be guiding us through part 3 of our 3-part series. Who is this series for? Well, if you are a college student or a recent college graduate and you want a good start on saving and investing early, and you want to understand the importance of saving and investing early, this series is definitely for you. If you are the parent or the grandparent of a college student who wants to be prepared to discuss the importance of saving and investing early, you will also benefit by this presentation. And frankly, anyone else who wants to be spurred into saving and investing, it's never too late to start. Even though you might feel like you're getting a late start, it's never too late to start. What has this presentation covered? Well, in our first 2 sessions recorded, we covered the first 4 points on this sheet or on this slide. Why we should care about saving and investing early, when we should start, how we can get started, and where we should invest. In this session, in this final recording, in the series, we will look at what investments we should choose once we've made that commitment to save and invest, and who can help us. If we need some additional help, who can we turn to? Who can we trust? Well, let's tackle the first of those final 2 questions. What investments should we choose? And frankly, folks, this can be a very complicated area. There are numerous types of investments we could select with various different characteristics that are going to make them appropriate or inappropriate for some folks. We need to have some way of filtering through the mass of investments out there and have an approach that we can intuitively understand. But before we can even get to that, we need to understand the concept of risk at a very basic level. I mean, as an investor, one of our primary goals is to reduce risk. We want to try to earn as much return as we can over as long a period as we can, and we want to take as little risk as we have to get the job done. Well, there's a lot of different ways that you can define risk, and we've got a few of them listed here on this slide. Volatility, that's the risk that's associated with an investment swinging up or down in price over a period of time. Another way to think about risk, the potential that an investment has to lose money. Well, what's the probability that that investment is going to be worth more or less at the point where we need that money? Uncertainty, just that question mark about not knowing what the future may hold. That's another risk factor we want to try to deal with. We could also define risk as the chance of not attaining a goal. If you have a goal to retire at a certain point or at a certain age, there's a chance of not attaining that goal, and that's a risk that we want to try to deal with. Well, fortunately, addressing risk, there are more complicated ways to address risk, but there is a relatively simple way of addressing risk. And it's through this concept of diversification, basically spreading your money around across a variety of different investments so that if one performs poorly, you won't lose everything. Imagine you take all of your money and you invest it in one stock, in one company. Well, if that company does really well, you can see that your fortune will grow pretty quickly, but there's also a chance that that company won't perform well, in which case you might be throwing good money after bad and watching your portfolio go down in value. So diversification, spreading our money around across a variety of different investments, it's one of the easiest ways to reduce risk. Now let me show you this more from a visual standpoint. It's hard to imagine starting to invest at a worse time than back in 2000 when we had the tech bubble burst. From that point forward, we dealt with the Twin Towers and the tragedy of the 9/11 terrorist attacks. We saw an inflating of a bubble in the real estate world and also in some other markets. We dealt with the credit crisis in 2008 and 2009 and the bursting of the real estate bubble. And if you had had your money invested exclusively here in the United States, 11 years later, you basically would have nothing really to show for your investments over that time, basically finishing about even. Now, if you had diversified your portfolio, had some investments in foreign markets and in bonds and in other types of investments, you probably would have performed a lot better. And that's what we see there with the green line. A more diversified portfolio certainly performed better. And the reason behind that, folks, is that when you have a variety of different kinds of investments in your portfolio, when some are doing poorly, others are likely to be doing okay or maybe even be performing well. And so you get the benefit there of not having everything dancing to the same tune. When we talk about diversification, we also talk about different kinds of investments. And while there are a lot of different kinds of investments out there, they can be loosely categorized along these lines. We have individual stocks, we have bonds, we have mutual funds, and then we have a very similar type of fund, an exchange-traded fund. Now, mutual funds and exchange-traded funds are basically just pools of stocks or bonds. So when we go to get started and we try to, again, put a framework around our decision-making process, when we're trying to figure out what do we do next? We've started to invest some money within our company's 401k plan, or we've put away some money into an IRA account because we're trying to save for retirement. What's our next step? How do we approach the investment process? I mean, knowing that there are literally millions of different investments out there that we could choose. Well, I've kind of broken this out along three simple lines. There's the super easy approach, there's the almost as easy approach, and then there's the more complicated or not nearly as easy approach. The super easy approach is really just to identify one target date mutual fund, or what can be also known as a temperament-based mutual fund. Let's say, for example, that you are 30 years old today and you're looking at retiring when you're 60. Well, in that case, you might look for a mutual fund with a target date of 2040. Essentially, what that means is that that fund is going to be managed in a way more aggressively today and then becoming more conservative as you get closer and closer to that retirement date. It basically becomes a one-stop shop for you, and especially early on in your investments, if you don't have time to monitor your investments, or if you do want a very simple decision-making process, you can go about it that way. Alternatively, if you know that you're maybe a little higher risk taker or a lower risk taker, you can select what's known as a temperament-based mutual fund. It's a fund that's managed in a way to be compatible with you and your tolerance for risk. And certainly if you have a brokerage account or an investment account with one of the major discount brokerage firms out there, Charles Schwab, Fidelity, or TD Ameritrade, they will have questionnaires and things along those lines that you can go through to help you figure out what your temperament is. Are you a moderate risk taker? Are you an aggressive risk taker? Are you a conservative risk taker? And then you can select a fund or an investment based on that. Well, once your portfolio grows, you might feel like you want to have a little bit more of a hands-on approach. And certainly that's where things get a little bit more complicated. If you're trying to be a little bit more selective, but you still want to make sure that you're getting good diversification, you can just go with more specific types of mutual funds. Anywhere from 3 to 10 is probably going to be fine, depending on the nature of the fund that you're selecting. And then even for a more advanced investor, you might go with individual stocks or individual bonds or a combination of stocks and funds. Again, here, as with the other points, diversification is key. Under the super easy scenario, you're getting good diversification across stocks, bonds, domestic stocks and bonds, foreign stocks and bonds, all within the one fund. And so that's why it makes it a nice one-stop shop approach. Diversification across a variety of different mutual funds, that's also not too difficult to accomplish. When you're buying individual stocks, though, you do want to make sure that you have enough to spread the risk around. And so anywhere from 12 to 25 stocks or a combination of stocks and funds is a fine way to approach that. Well, what if you do feel like you need a little bit more help with stock selection, or if you feel like you need a little help identifying specific mutual funds for investment? Well, there certainly are some resources out there for you. If you are more of the I can do it myself, the do-it-yourselfer, there are, again, a variety of free resources to you out there on the web. Morningstar.com has a free site available to investors with a tremendous amount of great information about mutual funds and investments that can make sense for you as an investor. They also have a subscription site, and while you don't necessarily need that, if you wanted to go the extra step, you certainly could. It's one of my favorite tools as an investor. If you feel like you need a little bit more help than that, some actual discussion time with a person, well, you might go to your 401k plan provider. If you have a 401k plan and that's where you're investing your money, you could certainly talk to your 401k plan provider or the benefits department of your business where you are working. If you have an account with Charles Schwab, Fidelity, TD Ameritrade, or another discount brokerage firm, you can always call those folks and know that they will be able to give you some limited advice. If you feel like you need a lot of help, you want to work with a financial advisor, but you do have to be careful about that term. You could throw a rock in 5 different directions and hit 4 people who would call themselves a financial advisor here in the United States. And frankly, folks, they don't always approach the business from the same standpoint. So if you do want some specific help to your situation and you're interviewing or talking to different advisors, there are some questions you can ask. How long have you been in the business? What is your level of education? Are you compensated by commissions? And will you sign a fiduciary oath? Somebody who's willing to sign a fiduciary oath means or is publicly stating that they will put your needs ahead of their own. When it comes to designations and education, there really are only 3 designations that matter. And frankly, there are well over 100 at last count possible designations that people could have and that people use where investments and portfolio management and financial advice are concerned. Really, the only 3 that matter, though, are the CPA, the CFP, and the CFA. These are really the gold standard designations for each of these individual disciplines. CPA is obviously usually operating in the world of taxes and tax preparation. A CFP is going to be more focused on general financial planning issues. And if you want specific investment advice, the Chartered Financial Analyst is going to have probably the deepest base of knowledge in that area. Seeking somebody out with those credentials to meet your specific need is definitely going to go a long way towards helping you accomplish the goals that you have set aside. I would not expect either that there's a tremendous amount of crossover here. You could certainly talk to your CPA about investments, You could talk to your financial planner about investments, or you could talk to any of these professionals about financial planning or investment advice. But again, to be more specific, these are the areas of expertise for each of these individuals. Who you choose really does matter, though. So at the heart of it, you want to address the compensation issue. How is that advisor compensated? And it's not to say that the different business models are, some are good and some are bad, but when you understand how an advisor is compensated, it can go a long way towards helping you know whose interests they are representing. A fee-only advisor, if you can find one to work with, they do not earn commissions, they do not sell investment products, they provide advice for a fee, and it's easier for you to see in that sense that they're representing your interests as opposed to the interests of the brokerage firm that they might be working for. Folks, we hope that this provides some insight. If you do have more questions about any of these issues, we're happy to have a consultation or a discussion with you. My contact information is in the lower right-hand corner of this presentation material. Travis Raish can be reached at travis@circap.com, CIRCAP.com, and telephone number provided as well. Circa Capital. At Circa Capital, we believe everyone can achieve financial success. We know that financial success is achieved intentionally, not usually by accident. And we help our clients achieve financial success by educating them about how money and investing works, helping them set appropriate financial goals, and investing in ways which have proven successful. Again, I hope you have found this three-part series on saving and investing helpful and enlightening. And certainly if there is anything that we can do for you, do not